Sorry, I'm drinking Kahlua. It's the season, baby, for shit talking. Panther people, let's talk about a fat guy with a beard, and no, not talking about Santa. What's going on? You're watching Panthers Post with Phil Perkins. They always say, or at least my mom says, it's probably the most profound thing she's ever said in her entire life, and she says a lot of profound things. A jar with tons of pennies, filled to the absolute brim with pennies, for those who still use pennies. You shake it, makes absolutely no noise. A jar with only one penny in it, you shake it, makes the most noise. And that is Matt Rhule. The guy is hurt. He feels, for the first time in his life, he's being criticized not just by football people, but by armchair quarterbacks, money quarterbacks, aka the fans. This has never happened to him. He's found success in every level he's been at least in college, at Temple, then at Baylor. The second he steps into the big boy league in the NFL, it lasts not the 6-7 years his contract or the 4 years of rebuilding that he was promised. And so for the first time in his life, he's being humbled. He's being told, you're not good enough, cannot handle it. His ego is through the roof. The fact that, we all knew this, the fact that he thought that he could turn around Sam Darnold, that he could turn around Teddy Bridgewater, that he could turn around Baker Mayfield, that he didn't want a rookie quarterback. He thought that he could get these reclamation projects and make them something that they're not. And the fact that he has failed, I think, just eats at him. And he just cannot stop talking. He's on, I don't even know why these programs are picking this guy up. Like, Nebraska's a pretty big program, but they haven't been big since the 90s. And sure, the Big Ten's a pretty big league, but the fact that he's on Good Morning Football, then he's on the Rich Eisen show, and then he's on these, like rinky-dink random podcasts as well, which makes absolutely no sense to me. He's just taking any opportunity to just try to throw the Carolina Panthers under the bus. This guy is never welcome in Carolina ever again. This is coming from a guy who doesn't even live in North or South Carolina. Imagine if you're the players. When he says something like he said to Peter Schrager of Good Morning Football, Fox Sports, that if he could do it all over again, he wouldn't have taken the Carolina Panthers job. Imagine that if you're Chuba Hubbard, a guy he drafted, or Derek Brown, Jeremy Chin, any of these guys, J.C. Horn, and then he says that he probably shouldn't have taken that job. What does that say to those players? Like, that's just, the disrespect is wild. The ignorance that he has, that he thinks that he's going to say these things, and people are actually going to pick up what he's putting down and as gospel, because he does sound like a weird youth pastor who also sells refrigerators on the side. But people are reading through it, and it doesn't help his case that beat reporters like Sheena Quick and all these other cats who've been following him since his time in Carolina, saying that this guy is who we thought he was. This is who we've been dealing with this entire time. The guy's a big phony. He's a bunch of talk. And the biggest thing, the one that's killing everybody right now, he has zero accountability for what happened. That's enough for my Matt Rhule talk. I'm not talking about Matt Rhule anymore, because now we actually have a person who is head coaching material in Steve Wilks. Will he be the Carolina Panthers head coach? I'll say this. I have not seen a coach have that much drip and swag in my life. If you guys have already been on the Twitter machine, you saw him at the Hornets game. He looked like he was having fun. I don't know if he's that kind of guy who likes to have fun. It kind of reminds me of, remember the Titans scene? He was like, oh, football's fun now. Football's fun now. Football's not fun. You're not going to have fun. It seems like he's like that a little bit. Like, he's at courtside, but he was like, his eyes were like dead set, it seemed like, on Seattle. Like, he was there, but he mentally wasn't there. But at the same time, he's just so cool. Like, you saw that in his first press conference when he was named interim head coach, like with the Jordans on. He kind of walks like a Panther, truly. Like, he just kind of glides on the ground. And he carries himself like the CEO, like the president of a company. And I think and from what I understand, that it really took to this year for people to actually start accepting Matt Rhule. But it feels like with Steve Wilks, it's almost instant. Coach, like, players, all levels, rookies, veterans, guys who've been there forever, J.J. Jansen, they gravitate towards him. They listen to him. They respect him, which is a huge thing in an NFL locker room, because you're dealing with grown men in their mid to late 20s and early 30s, mid 30s, and a career type situation. He's making good decisions, at least not consistently. Like, and by that I mean there's sometimes they don't commit to the run. Obviously, I'm talking about the Cincinnati game, but also the Baltimore Ravens game. You know, there are days when Deontay Foreman, it seems like he just doesn't exist. I don't know if that's a Ben McAdoo thing as well, but I'm sure he's out the door. If Steve Wilks is the head coach and going to choose somebody else, you got to win. You got to win. And I think the Panthers got a chance. So you got the Seattle Seahawks taking on Bryce Perkins, not related, and the LA Rams. They're shit. They got to win that game, and they could almost find themselves in a bit of a trap game against the Carolina Panthers at home. It's just kind of written on the wall that the Seahawks could take this. But we saw with Josh Jacobs rushing 83 yards for a go-ahead touchdown in Seattle, the place of Beastquake. I think Deontay Foreman could have a similar game to that. And I'm not doing the preview game yet. That's going to be next week. But I think the Panthers could make it a pretty tight game. My guy Trev from New Jersey sent me, it sounds like he works at the airport, sent me a voice message asking if Steve Wilks is at the helm. I think it was this question. Might not be exact. Steve Wilks at the helm. Do the Panthers win a Super Bowl by the next World Cup? That's 4 years. My answer to that is, if Steve Wilks is the head coach next year and for the foreseeable future, he gets himself an actual rock star offensive coordinator, because I think he can bring one in. I think he has respect around the league. If he can hook that up with either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, or an Anthony Richardson or Will Levis, might take a little bit more time. If we got a 4-year window we're talking about here. So let's just say whether it's Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, because right now it's looking like that. I don't think the Lions are going to pick a quarterback, honestly. I'll tell you why later. But I think if they pick either of those guys, I think they can pick up and elevate this team to a level that the current crop of quarterbacks that we've been dealing with since 2019 haven't been able to do that. And then with the rookie quarterback, you can start bringing in those veteran pieces, kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles are doing right now. Jalen Hurts hasn't been paid yet. You can get guys like Hassan Reddick. You can get guys like, Bradbury, A.J. Brown, and then pick up just random guys off the street midway through the year, like Ndamukong Suh, to try to get that Lombardi trophy. So I think in the 4 years, and this has been in like a 2-year process for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think the Panthers could do just that. There's picking Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. Why do I think Bryce Young, even though he's kind of been slated as a number 1 overall pick? If you've watched college football in the last couple weeks, there's a cat in Southern California right now by the name of Caleb Williams that is stealing people's imaginations and their hopes and their dreams, almost making them forget about Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, who are legitimate NFL-type quarterbacks. I don't care what you say about their size, lack of mobility, or hesitancy to be mobile in the terms of CJ Stroud. At a lesser extent, I think teams that could be drafting a quarterback this year, a la the Texans, the Lions, I think they're looking a little bit to the 2024 draft and thinking, I don't need to get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud right now. Like, Bryce Young is awesome. Point guard out there, kind of like Williams out of USC, but much smaller. Caleb Williams is about 6'1", I believe, about 200 pounds. And what we're hearing is Bryce Young is probably closer to around 5'10", 185. And so he's good, but he's small. CJ Stroud's good, but, he doesn't run that much. They got Drake May as well out of UNC. We could wait. And so I could see the Texans picking a Will Anderson or best player available. Because according to Draft Nicks, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud aren't in the top 5 like best players in this draft. They're just the best quarterbacks. And the Texans need a quarterback. They don't need anything. They're a scorched earth. They need a bunch of things. I can see them picking Will Anderson. Chicago Bears can go defense. Detroit Lions getting their pick out of the Los Angeles Rams. Jared Goff's been all right. The Lions been good. Like, if anybody, I see them picking Will Levis, to be honest. He just reminds me of their head coach, Campbell. I can see a team like the Lions continuing to build on that aggressive mentality, that culture, building up on the D-line, getting the D tackle out of Clemson. Picking up an edge, or I'm sure there's an edge, or I haven't delved too deep in the draft, as you can see, especially on non-quarterbacks, but I'm sure they could pick up some dope defensive linemen from the SEC somewhere. I think the Panthers, who are now currently picking at 5th, could they be picking lower potentially? But I think whatever team that could be picking quarterback this year could be getting thirsty for 2024 and have guys like Bryce and CJ, especially CJ, who I think is good enough to start and excel in the NFL, particularly with the Carolina Panthers and what they have currently at their disposal. I think a guy like Bryce Young, who I like better than CJ, could actually fall because a guy like Caleb Williams and Drake May are stealing the headlines right now. I do feel like people are souring on CJ Stroud, stupidly. I'm already seeing tweets that they're high on Will Levis. Go for it. But if we get a guy like CJ or Bryce falling, because I do think his size is going to freak the fuck people out, I think the Panthers take advantage of that landscape and just keep winning, build the culture, plot them in, and just keep winning, keep pounding. Let's go. Your boy's off to Seattle. And so Sunday night, Monday morning, you're going to have a game day at the fucking Lumen Field. You're going to have me waking up at the hotel, drinking early with breakfast, watching me tailgate with my friends, watching me get pizza at the stadium because you can bring whole boxes, cheer on the Panthers, react to plays, and hopefully react to a win. So, see you guys next week. Let me know how you feel about my strategy. See you then.